Sometimes the people we think we know best are hiding stories that would break our hearts and chain everything we thought we understood about sacrifice. What happened on Family Feud in April 2025 started as a typical game show episode. But it became something else entirely when one contestant revealed a truth that had been hidden for over a decade. Harvey, a man who has seen thousands of contestants and heard countless stories, was completely unprepared for what he was about to hear. The revelation did not just stop the show. It stopped time itself for everyone in that studio. What this woman had done in secret, the sacrifices she had made that even her own family did not know about, would leave Harvey unable to speak through his tears and would remind every person watching what real love actually looks like when no one is watching. If you believe that true heroes walk among us every single day, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because this story will change how you see the people in your own life. Angela Martinez stood on the Family Feud stage trying to calm her nerves. She was 54 years old, a woman with kind brown eyes and graying hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore a modest blue blouse and black pants, nothing fancy, nothing that drew attention. Standing beside her were her husband Carlos, her two adult sons Miguel and Daniel, and her teenage daughter Sophia. To anyone watching, the Martinez family from Phoenix, Arizona looked like a typical middle-class American family competing on a game show for some extra money. But Angela was carrying a secret so heavy that she had carried it alone for 12 years. A secret that even the people standing next to her, the people she loved most in the world, knew nothing about. Angela and Carlos had married when they were both 23 years old. Carlos worked as an auto mechanic, and Angela had been a receptionist at a dental office. They built a modest life together, nothing extravagant but comfortable enough. They had 3 children over the next decade, and while money was sometimes tight, they managed. They owned a small house in a working-class neighborhood. They took occasional family vacations to visit relatives in Mexico. They saved what they could for their children's futures. Then 12 years ago, everything changed. Miguel, their oldest son, was 15 years old and a gifted student. He had dreams of becoming a doctor, and his grades and test scores suggested he could actually achieve that dream. But during his sophomore year of high school, Miguel developed a persistent cough that would not go away. After weeks of Angela insisting they see a doctor despite Carlos saying it was probably just allergies, they finally took Miguel to a clinic. The diagnosis was devastating. Miguel had a rare autoimmune disorder affecting his lungs. It was treatable, but the treatment was expensive, very expensive. Even with insurance, the family would be responsible for tens of thousands of dollars in medical costs. The medication Miguel needed to keep his lungs functioning properly cost $1,500 per month even after insurance. Without it, Miguel's lungs would deteriorate, and he would eventually need a transplant or face a dramatically shortened life. Carlos and Angela were terrified. They had maybe $3,000 in savings. They had a mortgage, car payments, 2 other children to feed and clothe. Carlos worked as many hours as the shop would give him, but it was not enough, not nearly enough. The medical bills started piling up immediately. They fell behind on their mortgage. Credit cards were maxed out paying for Miguel's medication. They sold Angela's car and she started taking the bus to work. They canceled family vacations, stopped eating out, cut every possible expense, but it still was not enough. After 6 months, they were drowning in debt and facing the terrifying reality that they might not be able to afford Miguel's medication. Without it, their son's health would decline. The choice seemed impossible. How do you choose between keeping your house and keeping your child alive? How do you tell a 15-year-old boy that you cannot afford the medicine that lets him breathe properly? Angela made a decision. She told Carlos she was going to pick up some extra hours at the dental office doing filing work in the evenings. What she actually did was get a second job, and then a third job, and then a fourth job. While Carlos thought she was working a few extra hours a week at the dental office, Angela was actually working 70 to 80 hours per week across multiple jobs. Her day started at 5 in the morning. She would make breakfast for the family and pack lunches. Then she would take 2 buses to her job at the dental office, where she worked from 7 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. From the dental office, she would take another bus to a grocery store where she worked as a cashier from 4 until 9 at night. 3 nights a week, after the grocery store closed, she would take yet another bus to a cleaning company where she cleaned office buildings from 10 at night until 2 in the morning. On weekends, she worked at a laundromat doing wash and fold services. The money from these extra jobs, money Carlos did not know existed, went entirely to Miguel's medical expenses. Angela opened a separate bank account that Carlos knew nothing about. Every paycheck from her second, third, and fourth jobs was deposited into that account and used to pay for Miguel's medication, his doctor visits, his treatments. She paid the medical bills before they went to collections. She kept Miguel's health stable while Carlos thought they were barely scraping by. The physical toll on Angela was enormous. She averaged 4 hours of sleep per night. She lost 40 pounds in the first year, weight she could not afford to lose. She developed chronic back pain from the cleaning work. Her feet hurt constantly from standing on concrete floors for hours. She missed family dinners, school events, weekend activities with her children. When she was home, she was exhausted, falling asleep in her chair while trying to watch television with the family. Carlos and the children noticed Angela seemed tired all the time. They worried about her. They asked if she was okay, if she was working too hard, if she needed to cut back her hours. Angela always smiled and said she was fine, just getting older, nothing to worry about. She lied to protect them. She lied because telling the truth meant admitting they could not afford Miguel's care, meant watching fear replace hope in her son's eyes. The emotional toll was even worse than the physical. Angela missed seeing her children grow up. Daniel, her middle child, had his first girlfriend during those years, but Angela was not there to hear about it because she was scrubbing toilets in an office building at midnight. Sophia learned to ride a bike, but Angela missed it because she was stocking shelves at a grocery store. Miguel graduated from high school with honors and got accepted to college on a full scholarship, a miracle they had prayed for, but Angela was too exhausted from working 4 jobs to fully celebrate. Carlos noticed the distance growing between them. Angela was always tired, always working, never available for conversations like they used to have. He suggested marriage counseling once, worried they were drifting apart. Angela cried that night after he went to sleep, knowing she was sacrificing their relationship to save their son, but unable to tell him why. The only people who knew the truth were Angela's sister Maria, who helped cover for her by telling Carlos that Angela was helping her with projects when she was actually at her other jobs, and Angela's supervisor at the cleaning company, an older woman named Ruth, who often told Angela she was the hardest worker she had ever seen and asked why someone would push themselves so hard. For 12 years, Angela maintained this impossible schedule. 12 years of 4 hours of sleep per night. 12 years of missing family moments. 12 years of watching her children grow up from a distance while she worked in the shadows to keep one of them alive. 12 years of lying to her husband about where she was and what she was doing. 12 years of Carlos never knowing that the reason they had managed to keep Miguel healthy despite their financial struggles was because his wife was slowly destroying herself to make it possible. Miguel's health stabilized. The treatments worked. By the time he was 27 years old, his condition was managed well enough that he only needed quarterly checkups, and his medication costs had decreased as he got older and better insurance options became available. He was now a medical resident at a hospital in Phoenix, on his way to becoming the doctor he had dreamed of being. Daniel was working as an accountant, married with his first child on the way. Sophia was 19, in college studying engineering. The Martinez family had made it. Against all odds, they had kept their house, raised their children, and seen Miguel not just survive but thrive. Carlos was proud of how hard they had worked together to get through the difficult years. He had no idea that it was not together at all. He had no idea that his wife had been carrying the financial burden almost entirely on her own, while he thought they were sharing it equally. The Family Feud appearance happened because Sophia had applied on behalf of the family. She thought it would be fun, a chance to make a happy memory together and maybe win some money. The producers had accepted them, and the whole family was excited. For Angela, it felt like a gift. After 12 years of missing moments with her family, she would get to spend a day doing something fun with all of them together. She had finally quit her extra job 6 months earlier. Miguel was stable. His medical costs were manageable. They had paid off the worst of the debt. Angela had decided it was time to stop sacrificing and start being present with her family again. She was sleeping more, spending more time at home, reconnecting with Carlos and her children. She had no intention of ever telling them the truth about those 12 years. What good would it do? It was over. They had survived. Why burden them with guilt about sacrifices they had not asked for? Standing on that stage, Angela just wanted to play the game, laugh with her family, and create one perfect memory together. She had no idea that Steve Harvey was about to ask a question that would unravel the secret she had kept for more than a decade. ACT 3. The struggle. For 12 minutes, the Martinez family had done well during the main game. Angela had been surprisingly quick with her answers, her exhaustion from 12 years of overwork replaced by genuine energy and excitement at doing something fun with her family. Carlos kept putting his arm around her between rounds, proud of his wife for being so sharp under pressure. The kids were laughing and cheering her on. They won the main game, and now it was time for fast money. Carlos had gone first, scoring 138 points. Angela needed 62 points to win $20,000. As Steve Harvey called her up to the podium, she felt lighter than she had in years. "Angela, you ready to do this for your family?" Steve asked with his warm smile. "Yes, sir, Mr. Harvey, let me try to win this money." Steve started the round, asking the 5 fast money questions in rapid succession. Angela answered each one clearly and confidently. When the buzzer sounded, Steve gave her an encouraging nod. "Good job, Angela. Let us see how you did." They began revealing the answers. Angela's responses were solid, scoring well on each question. By the 4th answer, she had already secured enough points to win. The family had done it, $20,000. The studio erupted in celebration. Carlos hugged Angela, lifting her off her feet. The kids rushed onto the stage to embrace their mother. Confetti fell from the ceiling. It should have been a perfect moment of pure joy, but Steve Harvey noticed something. As the family celebrated, Angela was crying, not tears of happiness and excitement like you would expect. These were different tears, deeper tears, tears of relief mixed with something else, something that looked like pain and release all at once. Steve waited for the celebration to die down, then approached Angela with a concerned expression. "Angela, you okay? You should be celebrating, but you look like something else is going on." Angela wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. "I am fine, Mr. Harvey. I am just happy. This money, it means more than you know." But Steve had been doing this too long not to recognize when someone was carrying something heavy. "Angela, I have been hosting this show for many years. I can tell when tears are about happiness and when they are about something deeper. What is going on?" The studio fell quiet. Carlos looked at his wife with concern. The children gathered closer, suddenly worried about their mother. Angela shook her head. "Mr. Harvey, it is nothing. Really, my family is here. We won the money. Everything is fine." Steve looked at her with such gentle compassion that something inside Angela cracked. This man, this stranger, was looking at her with more concern than she had allowed anyone to show her in 12 years. "Angela," Steve said softly, "sometimes carrying something alone for too long makes it heavier. Sometimes sharing it can help. Is there something you want to tell your family? Because they are right here, and they clearly love you very much." Angela looked at Carlos, at her children gathered around her, all looking at her with love and concern. She had protected them for so long, kept the truth from them to spare them guilt and worry. But standing there on that stage with $20,000 won in 12 years of secrets pressing down on her chest, Angela realized she could not carry it anymore. "Mr. Harvey," Angela began, her voice shaking, "12 years ago my son Miguel got very sick. The medical bills were more than we could afford. I told my husband I was picking up a few extra hours at work to help make ends meet." She looked at Carlos, tears streaming down her face. "But that was not true. Carlos, I got 3 more jobs. For 12 years, I have been working 4 jobs, 70, 80 hours a week. While you thought I was at the dental office a few extra hours, I was actually working at a grocery store, a cleaning company, a laundromat. All the money from those jobs went to Miguel's medical bills, every single dollar." Carlos's face went pale. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Miguel looked like he had been struck. "Mom, what are you saying?" Angela turned to her oldest son, her voice breaking completely now. "Miguel, your medication cost $1,500 a month. The doctor visits, the treatments, the tests. We could not afford it on your father's salary and my receptionist job. We were going to lose the house. I was terrified we would not be able to pay for your medicine and you would get sicker." She was sobbing now, 12 years of exhaustion and sacrifice pouring out. "So I got more jobs. I worked the grocery store every night. I cleaned office buildings from 10 at night until 2 in the morning 3 nights a week. I worked weekends at a laundromat. I did not sleep more than 4 hours a night for 12 years. I missed dinners and school events and time with you. I missed being a real wife to your father and a real mother to all of you." The studio was completely silent except for Angela's voice and sobs. "I lied to all of you every single day for 12 years. I let you think I was just tired from getting older. I let you think we were scraping by together when really I was carrying almost all of it alone. I watched you grow up from a distance because I was always working, always exhausted, always gone. And I could never tell you because I could not let you feel guilty for being sick. I could not let you worry about money when you should have been focusing on staying alive and becoming a doctor." Miguel was crying now too, as was Sophia and Daniel. Carlos had tears streaming down his face, his hand over his mouth in shock. "For 12 years, I have been living a secret life that none of you knew about. And now Miguel is healthy and becoming a doctor. Daniel has a good job and a baby on the way. Sophia is in college. We kept our house. We made it through, but I missed so much. I missed 12 years of really being with you because I was too busy working to keep us afloat. Angela looked at Steve Harvey through her tears. That is why I am crying, Mr. Harvey. This $20,000, it feels like finally being released from a burden I have been carrying alone for more than a decade. It feels like maybe I can stop working myself to death. It feels like maybe I can actually be present with my family now. ACT 4. The turnaround, 12-16 minutes, Steve Harvey stood there with tears pouring down his face, not even trying to hide them. His hands were shaking. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. Angela, Steve said, barely able to get the words out, I have met some incredible people on this show. I have heard stories that moved me. But what you just described, what you have done for 12 years, that is not just sacrifice. That is love in its purest form. He turned to Carlos and the children. Your wife, your mother, worked 4 jobs for 12 years so Miguel could stay alive and you could keep your home. She slept 4 hours a night for 12 years. She missed 12 years of family moments, not because she wanted to, but because she loved you so much that saving Miguel's life was worth losing pieces of her own. Steve looked at Miguel directly. Young man, your mother cleaned toilets at midnight so you could become a doctor. She stood on concrete floors for hours so you could stand in a hospital helping others. She sacrificed her health, her time, her marriage, her relationship with all her children, and she did it in secret so you would not feel guilty. Miguel moved toward his mother, his whole body shaking with sobs. Mom, I had no idea. All those years, I thought we were just making it work somehow. I never knew you were doing all that. Angela reached for her son. Miguel, you were so sick. You were just a boy trying to survive. How could I let you worry about money? How could I let you feel guilty? Your only job was to get better, and you did. You are becoming a doctor. That was worth everything. Carlos finally found his voice. Angela, why did you not tell me? We are partners. We could have figured something out together. Angela turned to her husband, pain and guilt written across her face. Carlos, you were already working 60 hours a week at the shop. You were exhausted too. You were stressed about the bills. How could I add to that by telling you we needed even more money? I thought if I could just handle it myself, if I could carry this burden alone, then at least you could focus on keeping the shop job and being present with the kids when I could not be. Carlos pulled his wife into his arms, both of them crying. You should not have had to do that alone. You should not have had to carry that for 12 years by yourself. I know, Angela whispered, but I did not know what else to do. I was so scared. I was terrified every day that we would run out of money and Miguel would get sicker. I just kept working, kept pushing, kept going because stopping meant Miguel might die. Daniel and Sophia joined the embrace, all 5 family members holding each other in a circle on the Family Feud stage. Steve Harvey watched them, still crying, giving them space to process this revelation. After several minutes, Steve approached them again. Angela, I need to know something. When did you stop working all these jobs? 6 months ago, Angela answered. Miguel's health is stable now. His costs are manageable. We have paid off most of the debt. I finally let myself quit the extra jobs and just keep my regular position at the dental office. For the first time in 12 years, I am sleeping normal hours. I am home for dinner. I am present with my family again. Steve nodded, then turned to the audience and cameras. Ladies and gentlemen, Angela Martinez worked 4 jobs for 12 years to save her son's life. She sacrificed her health, her time with her family, her marriage, and she did it all in secret. She is a hero. Not the kind that wears a cape or gets medals, but the kind that works in the shadows and asks for nothing in return. He looked back at Angela. But Angela, I have to tell you something. You may have kept this secret to protect your family, but now they know. And they deserve to know what their wife and mother did for them. They deserve to understand the depth of your sacrifice so they can honor it properly. Steve turned to Miguel. Miguel, you are becoming a doctor because your mother believed in you enough to destroy herself to keep you alive. What do you want to say to her? Miguel looked at his mother, his face wet with tears. Mom, I do not even know how to process this. Every time I prescribe medication to a patient, every time I help someone at the hospital, I thought I was doing it because of my own determination and hard work. But it was you. Every single moment of my career exists because you were scrubbing toilets at midnight so I could afford the medicine that kept me breathing. He took his mother's hands. I am so sorry you had to do that. I am so sorry you carried that alone. And I am so grateful. Mom, I will spend the rest of my medical career trying to honor what you did. I will treat every patient like you treated me, with that same fierce determination to save lives no matter the personal cost. Steve then turned to Carlos. Carlos, your wife kept this from you for 12 years. How do you feel? Carlos was still crying, his arm around Angela. Mr. Harvey, I feel like I failed her. I should have known something was wrong. I should have noticed she was gone so much, working so hard. I thought we were partners sharing the burden equally, but she was carrying almost all of it. He turned to Angela. Honey, I am so sorry. I am sorry I did not see what was happening. I am sorry you felt like you had to do this alone. And I am grateful. I am grateful you loved our son and our family enough to sacrifice so much. But I promise you, for the rest of our lives, I will make sure you never have to carry anything alone again. Daniel spoke up next. Mom, I was so angry at you during those years. I thought you were choosing work over us. I thought you did not want to spend time with your family. I told myself you were being selfish, always working, always tired, never there for us. And the whole time you were saving Miguel's life. You were keeping our family together, and I was judging you for it. Sophia added through her tears, Mom, I am 19 years old and I thought I understood sacrifice because I have worked part-time jobs while going to school. But that is nothing compared to what you did. You worked 80 hours a week for 12 years and no one even knew. That is real strength. That is real love. Steve Harvey wiped his eyes and made a decision. He turned to the producers. I need to make some calls. This family needs more than $20,000. Over the next few minutes, something extraordinary happened. Steve worked with producers and his personal team to do something unprecedented. He announced to the studio and to the cameras that his foundation would be providing the Martinez family with an additional $30,000 specifically designated for Angela to take time off work, rest, and reconnect with her family. But that was not all. Several audience members, moved by Angela's story, came forward offering donations. A local business owner offered Carlos a partnership opportunity that would increase his income. A healthcare nonprofit offered to connect Miguel with programs that helped families facing similar situations with rare diseases. The outpouring was immediate and overwhelming. Angela stood there in shock, unable to comprehend that the secret she had kept for 12 years was now not only revealed but being honored by strangers who had been moved by her sacrifice. Steve had one more thing to say. Angela, I want you to promise me something. Promise me you will stop sacrificing yourself in silence. You have proven what you are capable of. You have saved your son's life and held your family together through impossible circumstances. Now it is time to let your family take care of you. Angela nodded, unable to speak through her tears. And to everyone watching this, Steve continued, look around you. There are people in your life carrying burdens you know nothing about, parents sacrificing in ways you cannot see, spouses working harder than you realize, friends struggling in silence because they do not want to burden you. Angela's story reminds us to look closer, to ask more questions, and to make sure the people we love know they do not have to carry their burdens alone. ACT 5. The Legacy, 16-20+ minutes. When the episode aired 8 weeks later, the response was immediate and overwhelming. The clip of Angela revealing her 12-year secret went viral within hours, shared millions of times across every social media platform. The hashtag Hidden Sacrifice began trending as people shared stories of parents, spouses, and loved ones who had made similar sacrifices without recognition or acknowledgement. Within 24 hours of the episode airing, something remarkable happened. The Martinez family started receiving letters, emails, and messages from across the country. People sent small donations, some just $5 or $10, saying they wanted to help the woman who had worked 4 jobs in secret for 12 years. Within a week, these unsolicited donations totaled over $100,000. A GoFundMe page that Sophia had set up to help her mother recover from the 12 years of overwork raised another $200,000. People who watched the episode felt compelled to help, to honor Angela's sacrifice in some tangible way. But the real impact went far deeper than money. The episode sparked a national conversation about the hidden sacrifices parents make and the invisible labor, particularly by women, that holds families together during crisis. Angela's story was featured in major news outlets, discussed on talk shows, and analyzed in articles about economic inequality, healthcare costs, and family dynamics. Medical organizations reached out to Angela, asking her to speak about the emotional and practical challenges families face when dealing with expensive chronic conditions. Healthcare advocacy groups used her story to push for better insurance coverage and lower medication costs. Political leaders on both sides of the aisle referenced Angela when discussing healthcare reform, using her 12 years of secret sacrifice as evidence that the system was failing ordinary families. For the Martinez family, the revelation changed everything. Carlos took a leave from work to spend time with Angela, something they had not done in their entire marriage. They went on a delayed honeymoon, just the two of them, reconnecting after years of distance caused by Angela's secret jobs and the strain they placed on their marriage. Carlos also made changes at work. He turned down overtime opportunities he would have previously taken, choosing instead to be home for dinner every night. He had watched his wife sacrifice 12 years to be the provider, and he was determined to balance work and family in a way they never had before. Miguel was profoundly affected by the revelation. He had started his medical residency feeling proud of his own determination and hard work, but learning the truth about his mother's sacrifice fundamentally changed his perspective. He began volunteering at free clinics on his rare days off, treating uninsured patients who could not afford regular care. He told his supervisors about his mother's story and asked to be assigned to work with families facing chronic conditions with high medication costs. Miguel also started a foundation in his mother's name focused on helping families afford necessary medications for rare diseases. The foundation worked with pharmaceutical companies, insurance providers, and donors to subsidize costs for families in situations similar to what his family had faced. Within 2 years, the Angela Martinez Medical Access Foundation had helped over 200 families afford life-saving treatments. Daniel, the middle child who had felt angry at his mother during those years for her absence, went through his own transformation. He quit his accounting job at a large firm and took a position with a non-profit that provided financial counseling to families dealing with medical debt. He used his skills to help families navigate the complex systems Angela had navigated alone, making sure others did not have to carry those burdens in secret. Sophia changed her college major from engineering to social work. Watching her mother's revelation and the response it generated made her realize she wanted to help families before they reached crisis points. She focused her studies on family systems and crisis intervention, determined to create support networks that would prevent parents from having to sacrifice themselves in silence like her mother had done. The $20,000 from Family Feud, combined with Steve Harvey's foundation grant and the donations from viewers, allowed Angela to do something she had not done in 12 years. She rested. She slept 9 hours a night. She went to doctor appointments to address the chronic back pain and foot problems she had developed from years of physical labor. She spent time with her children and grandchildren without being exhausted. She reconnected with Carlos, going on dates and having conversations about something other than bills and stress. But Angela also did something else. She started speaking publicly about her experience, not for attention or recognition, but because she realized how many other people were likely carrying similar secrets. She spoke at churches, community centers, and family support groups about the isolation of secret sacrifice and the importance of asking for help. Her message was consistent. I thought I was being strong by carrying everything alone. I thought I was protecting my family by not burdening them with the truth. But what I really did was rob them of the chance to help me. I robbed my husband of being a full partner in solving our crisis. I robbed my children of understanding why I was distant and exhausted. Strength is not carrying everything alone. Strength is being honest about what you are carrying and letting people help you. 6 months after the episode aired, Steve Harvey invited the Martinez family back for a follow-up segment. When they walked onto that stage again, the transformation was visible. Angela looked healthier, rested, genuinely happy in a way she had not been during the original taping. The family stood together with a different energy, closer and more connected. During the follow-up, Steve asked Angela how her life had changed since revealing her secret. "Mr. Harvey, I sleep at night now," Angela said with a smile. "And I do not just mean physically, though that is wonderful. I mean I sleep peacefully knowing I do not have to hide anything. My family knows the truth. They understand now why those years were so difficult. And instead of feeling guilty about what I sacrificed, they have turned that knowledge into action, helping other families so they do not have to go through what we went through." Steve then revealed something that moved everyone. The Family Feud production team had been tracking the impact of Angela's story. They presented data showing that her episode had inspired thousands of people to reach out to family members they had been estranged from or not fully appreciated. Donations to healthcare assistance programs had spiked. Applications to medical and social work programs had increased, with many applicants citing Angela's story as inspiration. One viewer had sent in a letter that Steve read on air. The letter was from a woman who had been working 3 jobs in secret to pay for her daughter's cancer treatment. After watching Angela's episode, she had finally told her husband the truth. Instead of being angry, he had been grateful to know, and together they had worked with social workers and medical advocates to find additional resources. The woman wrote, "Angela's courage to tell the truth gave me courage to stop suffering in silence." 2 years after the original episode, the impact continued. Angela's story was being used in medical schools to teach future doctors about the hidden costs of illness beyond the medical bills themselves. It was shown in marriage counseling sessions to discuss communication and partnership during crisis. It was referenced in social work classes about family systems and invisible labor. Miguel completed his residency and became a full doctor. At his white coat ceremony, he gave a speech that brought the entire audience to tears. He talked about his mother working 4 jobs in secret so he could become a doctor, and he promised to honor that sacrifice by treating every patient with the same fierce dedication to saving lives that his mother had shown. Carlos and Angela renewed their wedding vows on their 30th anniversary, a ceremony attended by family, friends, and many of the people whose lives had been touched by Angela's story. During the ceremony, Carlos spoke about how learning the truth about Angela's 12 years of secret sacrifice had actually strengthened their marriage rather than damaging it. "I thought I knew my wife," he said, "but learning what she was capable of, what she endured for our family, made me love her even more deeply. She is the strongest person I have ever known." 5 years after the Family Feud revelation, Angela published a book titled Hidden Sacrifices, a mother's story of secret jobs and endless love. The book detailed her 12 years of working 4 jobs, the physical and emotional toll it took, the isolation of keeping such a significant secret, and the healing that came from finally telling the truth. The book became a bestseller, resonating with parents who recognized their own hidden sacrifices in Angela's story. Proceeds from the book went to the Angela Martinez Medical Access Foundation, which had grown significantly. The foundation had helped over 1,000 families by its 5th year, providing grants for medication costs, connecting families with resources, and advocating for policy changes to make healthcare more affordable. Angela also started a support group for parents dealing with children's chronic illnesses. The group met monthly and focused on helping parents manage the financial, emotional, and practical challenges without sacrificing themselves in silence the way Angela had done. The group emphasized community support, resource sharing, and honest conversation about the real costs of chronic illness. 10 years after that Family Feud episode, Angela turned 64 years old. The woman who had once worked 80 hours a week in secret was now semi-retired, working part-time at the dental office and spending the rest of her time with her family and running her foundation. She had 2 grandchildren now, and she was present for every moment of their lives in a way she had not been able to be for her own children during those 12 years. At her birthday celebration, surrounded by her family and friends, Miguel gave a toast. 10 years ago, my mother stood on a stage and revealed a truth that changed everything. She told us about 12 years we thought we understood but actually knew nothing about. She showed us what real sacrifice looks like, and in doing so, she gave us all permission to be honest about our struggles instead of hiding them. He continued, "Mom, you saved my life twice. Once by working 4 jobs so I could afford medication, and once by teaching all of us that strength is not about suffering in silence, but about being brave enough to let people help you. Because of you, I am a better doctor. Because of you, Daniel helps families navigate financial crises. Because of you, Sophia supports families in crisis. Because of you, Dad learned to be a better partner. You thought you were just trying to keep me alive, but what you actually did was teach all of us what it means to truly love someone." As this remarkable story comes to a close, it is worth reflecting on what made Angela's revelation so powerful. It was not just the 12 years of secret sacrifice, though that was extraordinary. It was the reminder that people we see every day may be carrying burdens we know nothing about. The tired cashier at the grocery store might be working 3 jobs to pay medical bills. The coworker who always seems exhausted might be caring for a sick family member in secret. The parent who misses events might not be neglecting their children, but rather working to save them. Angela's story became a symbol for all the hidden sacrifices made by ordinary people who do extraordinary things out of love. It reminded viewers to look more closely at the people around them, to ask how they are really doing, and to make sure no one has to carry their burdens alone. If this story has touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that their sacrifices matter, that suffering in silence is not strength, and that asking for help is actually the bravest thing you can do. Leave a comment about someone in your life who has made hidden sacrifices, or about a time when revealing the truth changed everything. Because stories like Angela's matter. They show us that real heroes do not wear capes. They wear work uniforms to 4 different jobs. They scrub floors at midnight. They sacrifice in secret. And when their stories finally come to light, they inspire us all to be more honest, more grateful, and more willing to help each other carry the burdens of life. Share this story today and help spread the message that no one should have to suffer alone, that love is worth more than pride, and that the people in our lives may be stronger and braver than we ever realized.